Can everybody see what I'm sharing?
No, I cannot see.
Okay.
I can see. I can see.
I can
sir.
see it. I can see it.
Yeah.
You can see it now? Okay, let's see.
Very well, sir.
Yes, I can see it.
Okay. All right. Let me sharing, but my machine is not collaborating properly. Just make sure we let's see. Should be able to go down. Okay. No, definitely will. Have my technician today. Just wanted to make sure that we don't have any challenges, but looks like page. It's one page. Mood lecture. No. Isok wanya itu levels. Okay. All right. Is it? Can everybody read it? Okay, I'm trying to make it one page, but for whatever reason, my computer is not. But I just wanted to make sure that we understand that this week, last week we did emotional intelligence. We talked about the neuroscience of leadership. And we also mentioned about the importance of coaching as a leader. Now, you were supposed to double check about vision, trust, and motivation. Did you guys have a chance to do that? Or do you still need me to go over that? It's a question. Did you guys have a chance to review?
We can start today's class directly. We can start today's session.
Today, I missed what you just said.
We can proceed with the week 2 module.
Now, everybody is comfortable with vision, with
yes, Doc.
building trust and motivation. Today, if we're going to be talking about the today's week, we're going to be talking about the classical theory of leadership. And we know that one of the first theory is the trait approach to leadership. We have the behavioral approach, and we have the contingency. And you can resume these three by saying, A, who's the leader? How does the leader behave? And in which circumstance leadership is taking place? That basically covers the three leadership approaches. Let me share with you, you received the reading material. Chapter 1 of my book give you a brief overview of the popular leadership model. Let me try to just open a presentation that I did for those that might not have a chance to read it. Let me see if I can just help a little bit. Again, I'm glad that you had a chance to review the vision and the motivation. that can save us some time. But I only heard one person mentioning about being comfortable with what we talked about. I'm just gonna go to this. I'm gonna share one file for everybody to go back. I'm not sharing this one. Just am I still sharing?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, yes, sir.
All right. Let me close this and go back to a different file. Stop presenting. And now, is there any question regarding the notion of vision, building trust, and motivation before we start talking about the classical theory?
Not at the moment.
Okay. All right. Now, just when we come to the neuroscience of leadership, what their research have concluded is what you have here, that great leaders that create experiences of hope, compassion, and mindfulness. And right here, you can see the importance of emotional intelligence. What do they do? This is based on research by the Cleveland Clinic with Richard biopsies. What did they inspire through hope and vision? What they do, they spread compassion through empathy and caring. But they are very mindful. And here again, you see the importance of self-awareness, of being able to gauge and understand your emotion, and also understand how your emotion are affecting your behavior and how your behavior is affecting others' emotion, which is going to shape your relationship. But being mindful, attuned to mind, body, heart, and spirit. But they also inspired others by creating and maintaining resonant relationship. And that's something that we, as leader, that you have to pay very attention, is that all the time, try to maintain this resonant relationship. And that lead me to one of the quotes that I heard from Maya Angelou, that some of you might know her. She's African-American poet. And what she said really stayed with me. He said, it is by observation that in the future, they will not remember what you said. They will not remember what you did, but they will remember how you made them feel. That stays forever. It is critical as leaders that we understand how we make other people feel. If you remember why we wanted to make sure that you understand why you understand the neuroscience of leadership, is that understanding that the way that you feel might affect how you think. Now, traditionally, we always think that by rationalizing things, we can now control our emotion, but sometimes it's the other way around. And case in point, when we are angry, we might lose control. Therefore, we are no longer thinking clearly. But here, Maria Angelou is reminding us, make sure that you always make people around you and even yourself feel good, have resonant relationship, not dissonant. And that's where the neuroscience of leadership is very critical. And it's going to lead me to this quote from Marianne Williamson. And this is what I will recommend that we all try to do. Because sometimes it's not about others, it's about us. When he said our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. That means we are great. It's that our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that frightened most of us. There was a question the other day, one of the young ladies that mentioned about how she can become an effective leader. And I told her that she was already one. And all she needed is to talk to people around her. And I can bet you she's already impacting positively many, many people around her. But again, it is our light that frightened most of us. And she continued by saying, we ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. As we let our light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. This is by Marianne Williamson. I think that if I have to really encourage you, this is something that I want you to take to heart and to understand that you are great. You are already a great leader, and that you are already affecting positive people around you. And you can achieve much, much more. But the key is that you must give yourself permission to be great. You don't need it from other people. Leaders are not appointed. You appoint yourself. If you want to lead, if you want to make a difference, it's going to be up to you. Just being in this class already shows that you are already leaders, because you ask yourself, you know, I have a vision. Again, for those that have read about vision, we define vision by our ambition, our destination, not only where we want to go, but where we can go. And I think that it's critical that we have a great vision, and it is your vision and some of your goals and objectives that brought you to this class. And that's why you joined Oziri University. And this talk to you. You know, don't let the light within you, you know, threatens you. Embrace it. Then you can achieve great things. Now, we are talking about leadership. I usually don't like to define it, because we all can define leadership differently. But let's try to use some of the definition that might resonate. Dwight Eisenhower said leadership is the art of getting someone else to do something you want done because he or she wants to do it. You see, the key for leadership is that people have to volunteer to follow you. You cannot force them. Whenever there's coercion, there's no longer leadership. Now you can understand why I'm not a big fan of autocrat leadership. Because as an autocrat, you are forcing people. But whenever you force people, just look at what you're using. Either coercive means where you're threatening people, or you try to reward them. But what happens if you don't have that capability? If you no longer have the power where they can no longer fear you, or if you don't have the resources to reward them, then what do you have left? If you recall, I talked about the two sorts of power. We have the position power that is related to our current status. You are the, I'm teaching, you know, that give me the power to be here, and you have to listen to me. But doesn't mean that I'm impacting you, I'm affecting you, that you're gonna follow whatever I say. Now, but there's another thing we call personal power. The personal power is your expert power. It's your reverend power. You might be willing to come to this class because you said that perhaps, you know, I can learn something, you know, from Dr. Meg. That has nothing to do with the position that I'm in as the dean for the business or as a lecturer. And you have to keep that in mind. When you build a relationship with people, make sure that you don't force them. You don't use coercion. You don't use legitimacy can get you at the door. But if you want to be successful, make sure that you build that personal power where people want to be like you. John C. Maxwell, that most of you have met through his writing about leadership, has said that people do not care how much you know until they know how much you care. And I think that, again, it's go back to building this resonant relationship. But overall, this is perhaps my definition by trying to combine most of the definition that I've heard by saying leadership is the ability to influence other people, to voluntarily perform with enthusiasm what you want them to do in order to achieve common purpose for greater good. And the reason I emphasize in common purpose, if whatever you're asking them to do only have to do with your own ambition, you as a leader, it's no longer common purpose. If what you're asking to do is detrimental to society, to humankind, to the environment, it's no longer leadership. That's why this class is called sustainable leadership. Meaning whatever we do, we make sure it is socioeconomically viable, it is environmentally viable, but most importantly, we are using human to achieve our purpose. And we want to make sure that we don't deplete people's energy, that people are not stressed while they are performing their activity. Therefore, building healthy organization become critical. But when you look at leadership, you can look at all the theory. The one thing that you know definitely is leadership is a process. And I like to share Durham and Pierce leadership process model. What do we have? Usually you have the leader, but the leader by him or herself does not mean leadership. I saw in some writing, they say if you have no one to lead, lead yourself. I believe what they meant to say, if you want to lead, first develop yourself. Personal development is not leadership, but it can become the foundation for leadership. When you lead, there must be other people around you. You must lead people. Therefore, we talk about follower. We talk about collaborator. I prefer the word collaborator to follower, because whoever follows you, it is to achieve, as I said, common purpose for greater good. But these same people can become leaders, and you will learn throughout this class. There's a concept that we talked about, shared leadership, where actually the leader him herself become follower, and that the follower become the leader. Therefore, calling people collaborator makes a lot of sense. Another element of leadership is whatever happened in a context. Without the context, there's no leadership. Teresa was an effective leader. Nelson Mandela was an effective leader. Thomas Sankara, an effective leader. Martin Luther King. But if the context have changed, if the situation have changed, would have been very effective. Perhaps, yes, but again, we can only measure their success based on the context. That's why when you go back to the contingency theory of the classical leadership, it goes back to the situation and to the context that leadership is taking place. But all of that only makes sense if they can lead to outcomes. Without outcomes, we really just wasting our time. If you follow a leader for the sake of following the leader, it's a waste of time. You must have a common purpose, but that common purpose must always, I believe, be for greater good. Therefore, remember that leadership is always a process. I'm not looking at the questions, but I will pause to allow people, to ask questions. But again, I'm just gonna go through quickly through some of these. The one thing that I wanted us to take care of before we go forward is the relationship between leadership and management. And I encourage people to access Peter Nothaus. When it's come to leadership theory and practice, Peter Nothaus have written the best textbook. All of us, when we do our doctoral program, it is what we use. But it's, I don't know, 300, 400 pages. And as I said, I'm just trying to simplify it, knowing that you are already busy. Now, is leadership the same thing as management? We go back to one of the main fathers when it's come to leadership, Warren Bennis. And I encourage everybody to go back to Warren Bennis. He written a book called The Art of Leadership. Of course, leadership is an art. We're talking about a social science. He said, management is doing things right. Leadership is doing the right thing. Now, you'll find in some textbooks that it has been changed by saying management is doing things right, whereas or while leadership is doing the right thing. Therefore, you will feel that there's a contrast between leadership and management. Now, Warren Burris never said that. He just stated plainly, management is doing things right, or the manager do things right. Leadership is doing the right thing. Leaders do the right thing. They did not contrast them. They're not saying that you can either be or the other. They only stated describing the role. Now, doing things right, what it means? If you look at the roots of the word management, and this has been explained by James Cowes and Barry Posner, as a great leader, have written several rich books. The roots of the word management is the word main, which means to maintain the order, to organize and to control. You see that it's a different field. The field of management is stability. It's how do we organize, how do we maintain it? But if you look at the roots of the word leadership, is to lead, meaning that there's a destination. It's mean to go, to travel. It's to just movement. The leaders begin a quest for a new order thing. They guide us to new destination. And that's the difficulty about leadership, you know. And I'm not gonna waste a lot of your time. I'm sure we're just gonna look at, if you look at basically the two fields where you see that management is, I apologize for that. Management produce order and consistency. Now we all know that we are operating in a world that is changing, a world of instability. You know, anytime that you want to maintain consistency and stability, you're going to be facing challenges. And you can see those three: planning and budgeting, organizing and staffing, controlling and problem solving. Now, if you recall, the four major elements of management was planning, and they said organizing, directing, and controlling. Now, people now are trying to move away from the term controlling, because we know that you cannot control people. You can maybe control their physical friends by dividing the nature of work. But when it's come to intellectual work, when it's come to today, where we're talking about technology, you know, you cannot control what people do. On the other hand, leadership produces change and movement, vision, big picture, strategy, alignment about what needs to be done, where you're heading, and the people that you have there, how you build your process. But most important, leadership is about motivating and inspiring. I'm covering this, but just to make sure, and this one slide here for people that want to revisit vision is always about a starting point where we are and where we want to go. But again, make sure that you can go there. And that's why when we talk about objective, when they said they must be smart, when they said smart, they're specific, they're measurable, they are realistic, they are achievable, you know, they are time, you know, bound. That's realistic. Not only you have to take people where you want to go, but you got to make sure that you can go there. I'm not going to waste a lot of time about building trust, but just, to let you know that you can find, how to build trust, under this fundamental of management. Robbins, Carter, and DeCenzo have identified 5 dimensions of trust: integrity, competencies, consistency, loyalty, and openness. And you can see how they make sense. If you don't have integrity, people will not trust you. If you don't have the skill set to lead the people, they're not going to be able to trust you. If you are not consistent, what we call gruesomeness, what I say is what I do, what I do is what I say, people are not going to trust you. If you are not loyal, people are going to trust you. But again, it is important to build those relationships, which can only happen if you are open to other suggestions, if you are open to other people, if you communicate openly with others. And again, you can talk about play with transparency, act fairly, express your true feeling. I would just comment on express your true feeling. It can be a double-edged sword. And somebody did ask the question, is it a weakness when you are only here to serve people? But again, being vulnerable can help you build those resonant relationships with your followers, with your collaborator, because they see you as being transparent and that you're not hiding. They see you as being authentic. And as a leader, authenticity goes a long way. That's why allowing yourself to be vulnerable is important. But again, if you are leading and then you express fear, you express uncertainty, you express ambivalence, where you really struggling, of course, you're sending the message that I don't know what I'm doing. And if people feel that you don't trust yourself, they will not be able to trust you. And I think that just here, we can talk about 3 types of trust. Deterrence-based trust, where people follow, accept you because of fear of retaliation. This kind of trust doesn't go far. There's a second type of trust we call experience-based trust. This is based on your behavior and the experience that people have with you. You keep your word. You keep your commitment. You become predictable. But if you are unpredictable, then people don't trust you. Even the economy, you can see that whenever there are uncertainty, you see the stock market is jumping up and down because people don't trust anymore the market. It brings uncertainty. But there's another level of trust that we call identification-based trust. And this is what you want to build. This is about affective and emotional connection with the party, where you trust that this other person will not do anything to harm you. That's what we try to do with people around us. I'm not gonna dwell on that, on the motivation. You have already done Maslow, talking about the reason that before you can help somebody satisfy, motivate them, make sure that you satisfy their basic need, their psychological needs, and their self-improvement need. There's a hierarchy in terms of the need physical, safety, belongings. However, I just want to let you know, there are occasions where the ranking might not apply. I am in Senegal, there is a brotherhood called the Murid, and there's a Baifal. There are some people that don't care about the physical need. They don't care about their safety need. They just want to have the blessing of their sheikh. They just want to belong. Therefore, it's not sometimes, the way that it's presented. Just as I said, every tool, every model have weaknesses, and that you can try to accept it, to understand it, but when you're using it in a context, we are in Africa, most of us, we are different part of the world, and these tools were developed in a Western context. You, as someone from Africa or someone from a developing country, might look at it differently and try to understand that this hierarchy might not apply. There is another motivation theory by McGregor about theory X and theory Y. Basically what it's saying, some managers assume the worst of the workforce, some assume the best. And I think that to be effective leader, always try to assume the best of people. But another model that I think that is important is Hertzberg's 2-factor, the hygiene and the satisfaction. And I told you the other day, this model revolutionized how we set up reward and how we, the human resource department, structure their processes to motivate people. This model did show that dissatisfaction is not the opposite of satisfaction. It is not because you are dissatisfied, it's not because you are dissatisfied that you are, let's say, let me rephrase it. It's not because there's no that you are not dissatisfied that you are satisfied. It is not because you are not dissatisfied that you are satisfied. What it means is that there what Husberg called the hygiene factor. This is like the minimum condition for someone to perform their work and to be operational. Working condition, policy, base salary. But what do you want to do to satisfy them might be something else, achievement, recognition, advance personal growth. And that as a leader, you should pay more attention to job satisfaction level than to dissatisfaction. The dissatisfaction level are those that you must take care of for people to be operational, but you must go beyond that. That's the importance of this model. Understanding that being not dissatisfied doesn't mean that you are satisfied. Now you have the Adams theory of equity. And again, that goes back to the same thing. When people perform an effort, they are expecting that this will lead to some outcome, and that outcome that will allow them to be rewarded, that what they spend into effort will be rewarded by what they receive. But if they don't see any fairness in the benefit compared to how much they have given, then there's a problem. And as a leader, you always need to have an idea of being fair to everybody. And then Victor Vroom, expectancy theory. Again, to motivate people, when you join Uzuru University and that you wanted to get a degree, the reason why you want to spend the time studying, the effort that you are making, you said, will my effort lead to higher performance? Would I improve my work environment? Would I improve the relationship I have with people? Would that effort, with the expectancy, lead to the instrumentality to the performance? But would the performance lead to balance, which is the reward? Therefore, we always have to make sure that when we ask people to make effort, we must equip them. We must give them the tool to make sure they will be successful. You don't want to come back and say, okay, you will be able to get your degree if you do not equip you, if you do not give you all the tool that you will be successful. That there's a direct relation with the effort and the performance. If you spend all your weekend studying and you come here and I fail you, then I am going to be discouraging you to continue the class. By the end of the day, if you become performant, would you be rewarded? Would you find the desired outcome while you join it? Now, we already talked about the source of power. I don't want to come back to that. But let's go back to, let me stop here and see if there's any question. Then before we go back to, okay. I am back here, chat. Let me see. Can you please make slide view? Okay. Sorry for that, but I'll definitely, okay, I'll do that. Do you have any questions so far? I want it to be interactive. Any question? Yes, go ahead. What did you say? No question? Okay.
On everything is clear for me.
Okay. And I'm assuming that you're speaking for the rest of the class. Can someone second him?
I second.
I second for that.
And I
Okay.
thought,
I second, sir.
All right.
Quite
Thank you, guys.
interesting and engaging. Yes.
All right. Let's keep going. And oops. If I raise my hand, I don't think that anyone will. Let's go back to. Let me make sure that I put it under view. Let me see. I hope that's the right one, because I have okay. That's let me see. That's not where I was. Let me make sure.
Yeah, but I think that this is fine. We can see you, and we can still see the presentation as well.
Okay, let me just go back to classical theory, and let's make sure let me go back to the PowerPoint and put it on the view mode. Is it better?
Yeah, it's still same. It's not put on the presentation mode as yet, though, but it's fine.
It's not on the presentation mode.
No, when it goes on the presentation mode,
Okay.
we are not to the left. Yeah.
Okay, let me go back to let me put it there, and then let me go back to okay. Let me share.
Excuse me, is it the PowerPoint slides? Or
Yes.
is it PDF?
It's just a PowerPoint slide. Can you see
I
it?
think
Then you
what
can
he
press
means
F5.
is that the
You can
the presentation
press
is not
F5.
on full mode. We are
Okay.
seeing all the side of it, and then the slide that you're pointing at. Whereas in presentation mode, we are supposed to only see the slide you're pointing at.
But you're
Well,
seeing all the slides.
Yeah, we can see the slide
Yes.
by your left hand side, which
Mm.
isn't
Oh
supposed to
no,
be.
that's not what we want.
Yeah.
That's not what we want.
I can
No,
see
no. We
the
want to.
presentation.
Yes.
You can press
So you have to
F5,
keep
sir.
the presentation.
Okay. Let me. If you still see everything, then that's not good. Let me get out and see if we can fix that. Okay.
Okay, sir.
All right. Let's see. Let me. I have my technician here. Let's see if he can do. Okay, normal. Let me see. Okay. Wow.
Hello, Prof. You can
Huh?
just press F5. You can press the keyword F5. It will take you to the presentation mode.
Okay. That's okay. Let me, because right now in my computer, I have the presentation and I have it in full. Wow. Okay. Let me see. Okay. You still can see it correctly.
This time we can't even see the presentation at all.
Okay. All right.
Hello, Prof, sir. I guess you can just click on share screen. You should be able to share to us by clicking on share screen, sir.
Okay, now that's actually earlier what I did, but I was told that you guys were not able to see you didn't see the full presentation, and I had it under. Okay, let me try one more thing here. Okay, let me go back to. Okay, let me go back to share, and we'll see. Present now. Let me open a window. Now there are two windows here. Okay. Presenting.
Yeah, you're back, sir. You can see the screen now.
It's fine. It's fine. Thank you. It's fine.
Okay. All right.
Okay, Prof, are we going to get this slide later?
Doctor, it is same. It is as previous. You can click the slide view sign
Down
right
there.
button.
Yeah,
Yes,
now,
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
can
You
you
can
see
just
it
allow
now?
me to continue with the presentation.
It's perfect,
please.
sir. It's perfect.
Okay.
No,
All right. Now, we're going to be talking about, you guys had a chance to read the classical theory. Before I start talking, I want to get, for those people that have read it, what did you notice? What came to mind when you read about the classical theory? What stuck with you? Did you say, wow, I'm a great leader. I do all of that. Oh, I didn't know about that. Or even challenge some of those theories. Said that, well, how can somebody come with such a theory?
It's like me personally, when I read it, I didn't know about some of these some of these theories.
Okay.
And I also observed that even in like in the introduction of this thing you gave us, you just mentioned 3 theories, but I discovered that we had many theories apart from the one you gave. Like what you gave us the trait theory, the behavioral theory, the contingency theory.
Mhm.
So when I started reading the material, that is the PDF, I also discovered that there were other theories. So my question now is, why did you emphasize just on these 3 theories instead of all the other ones we have? However, I was surprised by some of the theories, and for me it was new. I've not heard of them before. Thank you.
Okay, now keep in mind, the material I'll send you is something that I will cover. Those 2 chapters are just part of my book. And that we are starting with a classical. Did you look at the syllabus? Did you look at the syllabus?
Yes, I looked at the syllabus, even though
Yeah, in the syllabus, we talked about as a theory. Did you notice?
Yeah.
We talked about as a theory, but today we talked about the classical theory. That's mean, now can you tell me some of the classical theory that you encountered that were not mentioned? Give me an example of a classical theory that was not mentioned, that you discovered.
No, I didn't. I'm just saying that in the questions you set for us, I get me. That is on the page. I'm not saying that it will not be mentioned, but I'm just saying that on our classroom email, I just discovered that it was 3 that was mentioned. But when I look like the great man theory, something like the great man theory, it was not listed in the list you gave us. I don't know how to put it, but that's just my observation.
Okay. Yeah, and I think that the reason they call them classical theory, you can see that this is how it started and it evolved. They become the foundation for the contemporary theories. And that you will see that the book in the chapter 1, I said a brief overview of popular leadership models and theories. And sometimes they cannot even be called theory. They can just be like a model And sometimes we call them an approach because enough work hasn't been done to validate it as a theory, where they can test the reliability, of the theory, the dependability, those are the kind of things that are required to get to that level. But basically, the classical theory, as you'll find out, is based on you have the trait approach. You only talk about who's the leader, it's personality type, and this is the foundation for the early concept of leadership, where they assume that the great man theory is one of those ludicrous approach of leadership that will not stand a day in today's context. Because what is great man theory? Saying that leaders are just all great leaders are just men, not women. This was the whole idea at the beginning, that leaders were people that are exceptional. They were extraordinary. The hero, they are intelligent, they are strong, they are born that way. They are like God, and it's based on the personality, the personal characteristic of the leader. It's about who's the leader. Now, the behavioral approach now is no longer talking about who's the leader, what kind of personality, what are their strengths. They talk about what does the leader do? What are they doing? How are they behaving? And then, here, the early approach of behavior is about the leader is delegating leadership, the transactional leadership, transformational, all these can be linked in that. Then you have the contingency approach. This is what is the situation surrounding the leadership process, Now, as I said, the classical leadership approach, basically based on the leadership characteristic, and that's what gave birth to the great man theory and the threat approach. Now, another perspective of leadership which emphasized the leader's behavior. There were two good, great schools: the study of the Ohio University and the University of Michigan. Actually, by the way, I am from University of Michigan. That's where I did my master's program before doing my PhD. And you have the Blake and Morton. Finally, this literature research era, that's what produced the contingency theory. Now, by reading the book, basically, the great man theory did not last long. And what you need to remember, it viewed leaders as exceptional people who are born. This is the basis for people you hear say that you are born leader. Only a few of us can become leader, which I totally disagree. Everyone can be not just a leader, but can be a great leader. It has nothing to do with being born or not. Those are like muscles. When you go to the gym, you can target specific muscles that you want to build. You can now decide why do you want to build those muscles. That's, your vision, your ambition, whatever you want to do. But there's not a muscle in your body that you cannot build. And the same thing goes with leadership. All the leadership tools, skills that you need, and that's why we use the term skills, because they're learnable skills. Now, you might say some people might have the predisposition, to become great leader. Let's say you look at an athlete. If you look at the history of Michael Jordan, we know that Michael Jordan, when he was in high school, sometimes he struggled, meeting the team. When he was in college, he struggled. It is by the time that he became a senior that he started really growing. And by the time that he went to the Chicago Bulls, he just became outstanding. He became the greatest player that ever played basketball. You guys will disagree today. You can say that LeBron is perhaps, one of the greatest. But again, Michael Jordan was not outstanding when he started, but he developed his game. He acquired new skills. And that's what leadership is all about. Now, the third approach is just another personality theory, which associates leadership with characteristic. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that, but just remember This is focused on the different threat leaders that are set process. And while the current approaches see threat as personality and intellectual-based ability, in early theory, physical and demographic characteristics were also thought to play an important role. You know, the biggest, tallest guys, those were Hercules type, were looked at, you know, to be leading people. And this is a bunch of theory that has been developed for the threat approach. And you don't want to waste too much time. Please keep in mind that it is about who's the leader. That's all it is. Now we move to the behavioral theory, and I want to go fast to allow you to ask questions, and then we can really answer those questions and bring those clarification. Is it okay if we move to the behavioral theory? Any specific question regarding the trait approach or the personality approach to leadership theory? Any question?
No questions so far, sir.
Okay. Now, the behavior theory. This approach brought a lot of energy to the leadership field, because when we look at the leadership approach to the trait, it was really very elitist, and that the whole idea that only few people can become leader, as you know, that is not very exciting. You know, how would you just look, oh man, I'm small, you know, I can even aspire to be a leader, because they say that I must be tall, I must be strong, you know, but that's not very empowering. That's not very engaging. That's why that approach shows a lot of limits. And when they try to do research to validate those attributes, they were not consistent. And they realized that this approach to leadership was flawed. Then we had new research. They're looking at the time from the performance of leader in general. And what they realize is that the leader activities can be divided into two major areas: the task-oriented and the relationship-oriented. And the early study assumed that the leader is either task-oriented or relationship-oriented. Therefore, they were not a bridge. You know, it's like you have two extremes. That's how they presented it. However, Blake and Mouton developed a new leadership model that they call the leadership grid by saying, you know what, you might have people, you might be able to be both, to be task-oriented in order to be effective. Remember, this entire class, we're talking about sustainable leadership. And I want to emphasize sustainability, meaning how can we maintain it? How can we replenish it? We talk about sustainability, but how do you take the need of people today without undermining the need of future generation? How do you make sure that people can give 100% without destroying them? As you know, and my book talked about that. You know, when we talked about healthy organization, it's because for a long time, we saw that the way that management was set up, you know, it was really to get people to operate like machines. But you know that we are human. We are not machines. You know, of course, you're going to say, what about AI? Now, AI is a machine that's trying to be human. Now, yes, if we can help a machine to be more human, that's fine. But try to take a human to make them a machine, I think that we have a problem. And that approach to management, the scientific approach to management, led to a lot of illness in the organization, a lot of stress, led to alcoholic, you know, high blood tension, you know, and people were quitting. Or even what we call not just absenteeism, people not coming to work or finding excuses, but you call what you call presenteeism, where you are actually present at the workplace, but guess what? You are not being productive. Therefore, you need, as a leader, to engage people around you, to motivate them, to make sure they are satisfied, they are engaged, they are empowered, they are excited, you know, they are really they have this eagerness to be part of what you were doing. That is why it is always critical as a leader to have a vision, an attractive vision that people want to appropriate and want to be part of it. But that vision shouldn't be just your vision, but it should be the vision for the entire community. What just happened in Senegal, where for the first time, young people, and when I said young, yes, not that so, because it's 44 and 48, Jomai, the president, His Excellency Bassirou Diomaye Faye, and Usman Sonko, you know, they sold to the people a vision. They said, we can make your life better. We have something better. You know, this is what is happening to you is not your fault. It's the fault of just a few people that want to control everything, that want to get rich, that are very unethical. Right or wrong, I'm not saying they are right. I'm saying that that's the message they share, and that's the vision, so that we can give you a better life. We don't need to go to Europe. You can be here in your country and be successful. They came with a very refreshing message. They were authentic. They were able to build trust with the people. That's why for the first time, an opposition party won election in Senegal in the first round. It has never happened. The first time that these two, you leave the prison, 10 days later, you become president. They were both jailed for almost 6 months, that's for 8 months. But while they were in prison, people continued to fight, and people believe in the message because they were able to craft a great vision. They were able to build trust, but most importantly, they were able to motivate. Even when they were not available, there were other people that took charge about their organization. Now you see the importance of having shared leadership. If the entire organization, which is based on those two, when they were jailed, the whole movement will die. But the movement was still alive while they were in prison. And that's what you want to do as a leader. How do you develop as your role is the first day of leadership, started looking at the people that are going to replace you. Great leader, always looking at who's going to take over for me. As somebody said, success without succession is a failure. If today, when you leave as a president, your entire legacy is gone, and that whatever you put in place will be dismantled, we cannot call that success. You know, now you can lead and then another generation. But again, keep in mind that in order to do that, you must be task-oriented, but you also must be relationship-oriented. And that goes back to the definition, the difference between management and leadership. Whereas they talk about management as creating stability, telling people what to do, how to create processes and procedure. While leadership is about engaging people into the movement, into the journey for the future. Now we're gonna go to the, there were two schools of thought. The School of Ohio State University, which happened to be very rival, and the University of Michigan. And you can see that the Ohio, the behavioral approach to leadership contained that leaders and managers engage their fellow in focusing on task execution and relationship building. Now, the University of Ohio research developed the concept of initiating structure and consideration, while you see the University of Michigan talked about the type of employee orientation and production orientation. You can clearly see that initiating structure mean task-oriented, and consideration mean focusing on the people, on the follower, on the personnel. At the same time, you can see employee-oriented mean that you are focusing people and making sure that people are taken care of. But production-oriented mean about task. And here we can say that they are saying the same thing. Where you have initiating structure, you can replace it by production orientation. Where you have consideration, you can replace it by employee orientation. And as a leader, those are the two things that you're going to have to juggle. how to get things done at the same time to make sure that the human aspect is not lost in the process, to make sure that we remain humane while we are also being performant. And it's a very delicate balance. We shouldn't sacrifice task and result, by being spending too much time on the relationship. But also you shouldn't sacrifice the relationship by just trying to get things done. The mean does not justify the end. Now, the beauty of the leadership grid is Black Mountain did something very interesting. They were able to combine the concern for production and the concern for the people. And that led to a very powerful tool called the leadership grid, or in some textbook, they get over the management grid, which is really a very effective guide for leader. And earlier consulting in leadership used the management grid to do training and to help manager better run their organization. And that led to 5 major type of style. The impoverished management. Here, you don't care about the people, you don't do anything about the task, you don't do anything for the people. You really let everybody, somebody will say, it's a laissez-faire, laissez-aller. The country club management, what you do, you try, to be very nice to everybody by sacrificing the rigors of realizing some of the objectives, setting up structure. The country club manager, he wants to be everybody's friend. He wants to be called the nice guy. But usually, if you're a nice guy, you don't get things done. Now they have what they call the middle of the road management, meaning that you're balancing the task-oriented with building relationship, which makes a lot of sense. But you also have the authority compliance management, meaning that it is my way or the highway. This is the process. These are the procedure. You follow them blindly. As you can see, this is exactly what an autocrat leader will do. But you can know that it's going to bring you back to the trust based on deterrence, based on coercion. And that doesn't go that far. Then you have the ideal, really, approach is what we call the team management, is when you focus on achieving the tasks that are required. But at the same time, you give the people what they need to be successful. That's what great leader, that's what effective leader do, and that's what is sustainable leadership. And this is what the approach, and you can see, here you have the concern for people, at the same time you have the concern for result. And that's what you want to be here in this cadre. This is the ideal cadre. But if you can't be here, make sure that you are in the middle of the road. That's what adequate organization perform is possible to balance it and to get work out while maintaining morale of people at a satisfactory level.
Excuse me, Doctor.
Yes.
Are you changing the slides? Because all we see is the classical leadership theories. Are you changing the slide?
I've been changing the slide. That's why.
No, the only slide we're seeing is the classical leadership theories.
That's why I think our everything that I said to you, I was sharing slide.
Now it's changing.
Yes, that's mean when I put it in full screen, it looks like for whatever reason, it is not working properly. But everything that I said to you, was slide. Yes. But again, you already have the 2 documents. I don't want to overload you guys with a lot of information. What I send you, is really sufficient for what you need. Can you see this slide now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes,
Can we
sir.
keep it this way rather than if I put it in a full? Let's
It's
see.
clearer now.
This way is so cool.
Huh?
It doesn't even make any difference.
You don't see it.
We can
It's
see
okay, we can
I
see.
see it now. It's clear.
It's clear.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Let me try something. Let me try to go back. Can you see that?
No, it didn't go back.
Okay. All right. I think the best way is to be in this mode, rather than, can you see this mode?
Yes.
Okay. Let's try it this way. Maybe next time we can. Okay. Now, what I was saying is here are the 5 main quadrants that we have at the national grade. And as I was saying earlier, many consulting firms use this approach to do leadership training. And it works very well. And I was saying that ideally you want to be in this, the team management, where here work is accomplished from committed people. There's interdependency, and this is what you'll call the Ubuntu, system. Here the country club is really focused on the people. But as you can see, very low when it's come to the task. They don't care if the task is getting done. As you know, this is not sustainable. Now, if you look at here, at the all the way on the right, 9.1, 9.1 is the authority complaints. This is only based on the processes. They don't care about the people. We just want to get things done. Can you see this slide?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I wanted to just show you the difference between the threat approach to leadership and the process, which really is the behavior. Here, the leaders, it's about height, it's about intelligence, extraversion, fluency as a trait. And you have the follower. You can see it's a top-down approach to leadership. Now here, you can see how the leader is affecting the followers, but how also the relationship, the followers affect the leader. It's interdependent. It's something that you'll call, it's more like a systemic approach to leadership. And this is more sustainable. Contingency theory, can you still see that?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
All right.
I can see.
Now, I mentioned the other day when somebody asked the question about the situational theory and contingency theory, I said initially, in many textbooks, what you will see is the situational approach and the contingency theory, not theories. Then you're going to see the path goal theory. Nowadays, they're just combining the situational approach, the contingency theory, and the path goal theory under contingency theories because they just assume that all these theories are related to the context and to the leader and the follower together. And basically, the contingency theory, I want you to understand that this is a theory. It's not just like an approach. It was a pop leadership model. It was developed by Fielder in 1964. And what he's posited and what he made as an assumption that leaders are most effective when their style matches the contingency or the circumstance or the context. Now, in Ashford, he said that if you are hiring a leader, make sure that you understand what is the dominant style of that leader. Also understand the context of that organization, the contingency of that organization. And you make sure there is a match between the leader's style and the situation of that organization. We're not talking about the situation of the people, which is going to lead you to the situational approach. Now, it tends to find compatibility with the current situation and the leader's preferred leadership style. Therefore, the present circumstances should determine the leadership style required for success. That's what you need to remember about the contingency theory, because the contingency theory has implication. What it's saying is that if now you hire a leader that has definite dominant style that doesn't fit the circumstances, they're going to fail. Or if you come to an organization and there's a problem, you do an assessment and you realize that the leader's current dominant style doesn't fit, what you need to do is that you need to fire that leader. You see the implication. it has implication. Now, field, there are three key factors that shape situation. What you call the leader and the member relationship, the task structure, and the position power. Here he's talking about what is the relationship between the leader and the members. Are they a healthy relationship? Do they trust the leader? Are they very comfortable? Do they like the leader? Now, what kind of relationship they have? Is it very positive or is it negative? And then you said, look at the task structure. How is it structured? What needs to be done? Is it something that is very flexible? Or is it something that really has very rigid procedure? And then they said, ultimately, it is the position power. And when we talk about the position power, here we talk about three sorts of power. Coercive power, can the leader has the mean to force people to obey, to do what he or she wants. You have reward power. Can the leader have access to reward people to get the work done? But also, you have legitimate powers. And does the leader have the legitimacy? Therefore, those three aspects are what will define the leadership success in this situation. Therefore, it could be attributed to the leader that follow in the situation. Now, why it is a theory, and I encourage you to read it, is that numerous studies has validated this model, and it is predictive capability successful testing. Meaning, yes, go ahead. Is somebody asking, or is it just my mic?
Yeah, may I ask a question?
Sure, go ahead.
Is it possible to say that both situational approach and contingency theory are the same? Because both are related with the situation of the campaign and the follower.
Okay.
Is it possible to say that?
Okay. Great question. And I'm going to ask you back the question to give me the answer when we get to that. Okay?
Okay. Yeah.
But that's a good question.
Yeah,
Now, this is what field contingency model look like. You have the leader-member relationship, can be good or poor. You have the task structure, can be highly structured or lowly structured, meaning flexible. You also can be high or can be low. You have in a good relationship, the task can be high or low. In a poor, it can be high or low. Now, somebody open their mic. Is it why we get an echo? Or is it just me? Thank you.
Well, it might be you.
All right. Now, the push and power, it can be strong. It can be also weak. I just mentioned to you about the push and power, which is the legitimacy, coercion, and reward. It can also, in the case of the law structure. Now, can you guys getting a background noise? If you are not, I can continue because I'm getting a background.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Is somebody have the mic open? I don't know why.
I think it is you that because the background is coming when you speak, so maybe you have two different gadgets on at your end. So maybe you want to check, sir.
Okay, hold on 1 second.
Sometimes
Okay, let me see. Let me stop sharing. Okay.
It is not coming again. There is no echo now. The echo is gone.
The echo is gone.
it's okay now. It's okay now. Okay.
It was when I was presenting, huh?
So you could mute the other device, sir.
Huh? Multimeter as a device. I'm only using. Let me turn off my phone. I don't know. Let me turn off my phone completely. But
is the phone having access to this same classroom?
Yes, one of the phone.
Oh, then that is why. That is why. All right. If it has access, you just need to either log out and then still leave it on, and that's fine.
Yes. Let me turn off. All both phone, and hopefully that will reduce the interference. Oh, the fan. Turn off the fan. Yeah. Watch it. Okay. Yes. Okay. All right. Let me see if we can go back to sharing, and you let me know. Can you see it?
Not yet.
Okay. Now, keep in mind, I'm all the way here in Senegal.
I can see it too. Personally, I can see it.
Where are you based?
I'm in Nigeria.
You're in Nigeria. Okay. You guys are the king for IT in the continent. Or is it South Africa?
I'm in Ghana.
You're in Ghana. Okay. Can you see?
It's Nigeria.
But can Ghana see it or not?
You mean the screen?
Yes.
No, I can't see.
You can see the field contingency? You cannot.
I cannot see.
I can see.
Hello,
We
can I
can
come in?
see
Hello,
it. I
guys.
can see it.
So for those of you that can't see it, can you quickly
See
log
it.
out
I
and
can
log
see
in
it.
again? You can quickly log out.
Okay,
I can see.
Maybe you should check your settings, please.
If you cannot see, you
I
can just
suggest
log
we
out and log in.
continue with the
It might be your network. Because I can see from my end.
Can you
I
see?
can see now. Yes, I can see now. Thank you.
Okay.
From Ghana, I can see now.
Ghana was lagging, huh?
Yes, please.
Okay. Now, the reason I insist for you guys to read the field of contingency model, it is based on sound theory and sound research. It is a very powerful and the reason I emphasize on this, it tells you that leadership, doesn't matter what they say, it is not easy. Let's face it, you know. When I talk about fun, you have to make it fun. You know, leadership is very complex. And as I said, personal development is not leadership. Here in the continent, there's a lot of training that talked about leadership. But if you look at closely, what you have is really not leadership. What you have is personal development. But here we're talking about leadership. There are some sound theory that has been developed that can be tested. The leadership grid is one of them that you can utilize to improve on your leadership. The field of contingency model is a very strong model based on real science and real research. Now, as I was saying, that these are the three things that you need to look at. The leader-member relation, is it good or poor? The task structure, the position power. Now, based on this, every single situation required, a different approach. When the leadership membership is good and they have a high structure and a strong power, you see that here, you can say that almost everything that is fine, but each scenario gonna allow you to look at the different kind of leader. What you see here, you have 8 possibility and each possibility required a different type of style. Let me just, another significant contribution of the contingency theory. Can you see the next slide?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
There's another takeaway.
Yes.
The first was that you need to match the dominant leadership style of the leader to the circumstances, to the context. But the other thing that we know that we have to accept that leaders are not supposed to be effective in all situations. You know, assuming that the leader can be effective in all situations, you know, can also lead to some problem. That's another takeaway of the contingency theory. However, the contingency theory failed to clearly articulate the relation between leadership style and outcome. There's, you know, certain thing that we can talk about that has some limit. Even though it talked about those three situations, understanding the relationship with the leaders and the followers, you know, understanding the task structure as understanding position power. But we know that it, in some occasion, it was not able to articulate the relationship between leadership style, circumstance, and outcome. At the end of the day, we want to be able to clearly show that the leadership style, you know, match the circumstances. And because of that, we were able to have good outcome. But they were not able to articulate that. When I did my research, I did a correlational study between leadership style and organizational health. I did not do a causality study, meaning that saying that servant leadership, you know, causes the organization to be successful or to be more performant. All I was able to establish, there is a strong correlation between organizational success, organizational health, and servant leadership. That's different. A correlation means there's an association, but it is not a causality. Am I making myself clear? Not to confuse correlation and causality. Here, we might say there's a correlation between having the right style that matches circumstances and outcome, but we are not able to establish causality between those two. Now, coming back to your question, Herschel and Blanchard's situational approach. You see, when they talk about contingency theory and lump situational approach and path goal theory, you see the problem that you are faced now. You have the contingency model theory that was developed by Fielders. Then Herschel and Blanchard developed the situational approach. Why we call it approach? They were not able to establish the level of sophistication. There were not enough study that had validated their approach to elevate it to a theory. The situational approach was a famous prescriptive. It is a prescriptive leadership school of thought, was developed in 1969. What it assumed is that for original performance, the leader should have the ability to adjust and adapt his style to the current situation and attend to the need of the follower. You see the difference between the contingency theory and the situation approach is that here we're saying that you need to adapt and adjust. Therefore, you must have several styles, and depending of the current situation and depending of your follower's level of understanding, depending of your level of competencies, you need to make sure that you tailor your style to their needs, not to the circumstances, not to the environment, but to the need of the follower. The contingency theory talk about the contingency, the circumstances. The situational approach talk about the situation and the needs of the follower. And that here you are asked to adapt and adjust. You can have several. Now we still have the echo again.
No, that's me, probably.
Okay.
Yeah, probably. The one who asked the question. I understand that now. I understand that now. Just to tell you, yeah. Thank you.
Okay, that's all right. That's bring back to your question when you ask if there was a difference between the situational and the contingency. That's why I insist that to make sure that you don't lump them all and say contingency theory, I have to go along with some of the, some of the approaches. But all I want to say to you, understand that you have the contingency theory by Fiedler, and you have also the situational approach by Hershey and Blanchard. In one situation, the contingency is about, we know you have a dominant leadership style. You don't need to adapt or to adjust. We just gotta have to match your dominant style to the circumstances. In the situational approach, we said, no, no, no. We know that every followers have different needs. Every followers must be in a different situation. What we want you is to adapt and adjust your leadership style to attend to their need to make sure they are motivated, they are empowered. If you are dealing with a follower or collaborator that know exactly what they're doing, that has self-confidence, you can delegate. You don't need to be directing them. You can perhaps coach them, but you give them freedom, you give them more responsibility. But if your follower is somebody's new, and you just direct them, say, oh, you should do this and this, you go follow the process, you are going to overwhelm them. Then it's going to be successful. Here, you need to be able to direct them, tell them what to do and how to do it. And then once they are comfortable, you start coaching them, practicing with them until they really understand exactly what to do. Then you can now ask them to go do it. But if you have a problem, call me, contact me, I will support you. But once you know that they know what to do, they are self-confident, they're highly motivated, then you know that it is time to delegate. Because if you have followers that are self-motivated, want to do, and you keep holding them back, they're going to walk away. That's when you delegate. But again, when you delegate, you have to give everything. You give also the power to make decisions. And that will be critical when you're looking about this, the leadership theory that talked about shared approach to leadership. Does it help? Is your question being answered?
Yes, yes. Thank you very much. It's answered.
Okay.
Thanks. So
all
much.
right. Thank you.
Sir, can I ask one?
Yes, go ahead.
Sir, personality development is not at all leadership. Do you mean?
You said what? The personality?
Personality development is not at all leadership. Do you mean that?
That personal development is not about leadership?
Yeah.
Now, what I'm saying that when you are in a personal development mode, understand that you are getting the foundation for leadership. And the point I was saying is that there's a lot of training that I see call themselves leadership training, but it is more about personal development. It's about when they talk about building your confidence, being confident. It is critical to be a good leader, to be an effective leader, to be self-confident. You know, when they talk about, let's say, emotional intelligence, developing your emotional intelligence, it is a prerequisite. It's a foundation to be an effective leader. If you talked about understanding the neuroscience of leadership, understand how it is important to build a resonant relationship. It is about personal development. Now, you can say to me, personal development could be a lifelong journey. And I would say absolutely. That's why today for leaders, there's a new field that we call personal development in leadership that combine those two. Does it help? Did I answer your question?
Sir, fantastic, fantastic. Last little bit blur is there. Even then it's okay. Fantastic answer.
Yeah, but you're right. As a human being, You know, we always need to have that. But the key, I'm saying, if you want to lead people, you know, make sure that, because there's a responsibility to be leading people. And I will just say, it go beyond responsibility. It is about accountability. Can somebody tell me what the difference between responsibility and accountability? Any volunteer?
I want to try.
Yeah, go ahead. I know you have the answer.
When we talk about responsibility, it is a task that is entrusted into one's hand to undertake a task. Whereas when we talk of accountability, it has to do with one, as it were, giving a feedback of what has been done. Thank you.
Yes, go ahead. Okay, sorry guys, I just wanted to make sure that there was some background noise. Okay, all right. Okay, yes, go ahead, sir, and sorry for the interruption.
Okay, so can I speak?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I think responsibility has to do with tax. I think it's tax oriented. You know, when you give people tax, they have to be responsible, you know. Why accountability?
Can somebody mute? If you are not speaking, please mute. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, accountability has to do with what happens after the tax has been carried out. That's how they respond and then take ownership of what they done.
Yeah, and I think that you're absolutely right. You know, when they say that you are responsible for this and this, it is clear that you've been given an assignment and their performance indicator say that this is what, you know, we expect you to do. Now, accountability go beyond just you checking the box. Said, I did what I was asked for. Here you go further and say that not only I did, but let me tell you exactly what I did and how I did it. And then you don't need for an evaluation. You don't need for an assessment. You assess yourself, and if there's some shortcoming, you feel the obligation to report on yourself. For the French speaker, that's what we'll call le devoir de rendre compte. You audit yourself. You don't need to be audited. You see the difference. The level of responsibility is much, much higher because you can make some mistake that nobody will know. But with accountability, if you fail, you will go and self-report and try to improve and to correct it. And just imagine if our head of state will come occasionally, say to their people, honestly, I failed you. I should have done a better job. This is not why I was hired for this job. Or say that I realize that I'm not capable of running the country. Let's find someone else that is better equipped, better qualified to do it. That's what accountability means. It's different if you don't do your job and then we go to the poll and you're being kicked out. Does make sense?
Yes, please.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Absolutely right.
All right. Now, I'm not suggesting that you call your head of state and say that Dr. Meng said that you are want to be accountable, you have to tell us. If you can't do the job, leave. I didn't say that, because you might end up in prison. But anyway, just to continue, the importance of the situational approach is that it emphasizes identifying each situation specifically in each follow, which requires flexibility and adaptability. Being a situational leader is very difficult, but that's what leadership is all about. Because as a leader, if you recall, I said to you, one of the things that I say as a motto, leave no one behind. You can, you leave no one behind. You must take everybody to the destination. But people don't have the same pace. Some people are going to go fast. Some people, you have to tell them once. They know what to do. As a people, you have to say them 100 times. But you cannot just say, no, I'm only going to deal with the most equipped and the most talented. As a leader, you leave no one behind. And that's why the situational approach contended that leaders have two significant roles: to direct followers to perform tasks and to provide support to address their need and concern. You see now the similarity with the leadership approach. You can tell this is an evolution of the leadership grid. The leadership grid is basically Hershey and Blanchard just actualized the leadership grid. They're very similar. It's an evolution. And likewise, the Hershey-Blanchard situational approach has been used by many, many organizations to do leadership training, because it's very effective. And this is, can you see the slide?
Yes, please.
And this is the result of Hershey and Blanchard situational approach. Now you see why I don't think it makes sense to combine the situational approach to the contingency theory. As you can see, there are 4 quadrants of leadership style. Here on your left, you have the supportive behavior. Here, the leader go from being very low into supporting people to very high. On the right, you have a directive behavior, basically telling people what to do. And here, it started with a low directive to a high. And as you can see, your lower right quadrant directing, here, you really tell people what to do and how to do it. It's S1. When you first have new hire that don't know what to do, this is where they are. Then once you show them what to do, you start asking them to practice what you're doing. That move you to S2. S2 is the coaching part. As you can see, it is very critical for really helping them grow, because you're going to allow them to try, make a mistake, you correct. Then it's high directive and high supportive. The S1 is only high directive, but low supportive, because you're not letting them try on their own. Here, you're just telling them to do exactly what you're telling them to do. Here, because they are learning, they are trying, they're going to need a lot of support from you, because they're going to mess up. They're going to make mistakes. You don't want to get angry when they make mistakes. You can even fake it. Say, oh, no, you did great. You did great. No. When I was here, actually, you did better than me when I was trying to do it for the first time. You see, those are tips that you use, and that's where mothers play an important part, where women tend to be better leaders. And I wave my word, because when they talk about, whenever I hear they talk about women leadership, I said, why do we have to talk about women leadership or youth leadership? When it's come to leadership, there's no place for race, there's no place for age, there's no place for gender. What they're saying is that because women are very nurturing, women tend to be, now we just tend to be, are more patient, they do a better job in terms of coaching in terms of supportive. And these coaching and supportive are critical to develop people. And I would say, why not just say that women are better leaders? They have better skills that might be predisposition, but it doesn't mean it is a woman leadership. It's simply effective leadership. It's a young person is very effective. I'm not going to call it youth leadership. And I can tell the youth, whenever you ask here to say youth leadership, it is people like me trying to set you up to say, you got to wait. It's not your turn yet. They tried that with Sonko and Jomai, our new president. Said, you wait till the next election. You were too young. You need experience. But they said, no, we are ready. Leadership can come from anyone. Age, gender, race has no business into leadership. That's why you see this transition phase is critical. Every time that you are coaching someone, you are engaging on trying to help that person adapt new behavior. Now, new behavior required a change in mindset. Now, mindset is entrenched on us. Our mindset is run deep inside us. It is something that we have developed through our youth, through our experience, through the parenting, through where we grow up. And if one day somebody comes to you and say that, I want to reshape your mindset, I want to start looking things through different lenses, now that to learn, you must know how to unlearn. Because in order to acquire new competencies, sometimes you need to unlearn old competencies, because the old competencies might become a hurdle, might block the new skill that you're trying to acquire. Therefore, unlearning sometimes would be necessary to learn. Now, you know that once we are used to do things a certain way, and we are asked to unlearn, it is very uncomfortable. It is very painful. As leaders, that's your role, is to coach people through that pain, to help them endure, to support them, but to motivate them, to encourage them, but most importantly is to empower them. Because when people feel empowered, they're invigorated. They are being successful. They take the lead. Therefore, as a leader, you see you're going to move from S2 to S3, supporting. Here, it's high supportive. Because in this case, they're now taking the initiative, say that, hey, boss, I can do it. Let me do it. They are taking initiative, and you need to encourage them. It's low directive. You don't tell them what to do anymore. You let them do it their way. Then once you know that they have, now they know master it, then you delegate. Delegate is low supportive and low directive. This is when you know that people are competent. Does it make sense, guys?
Yes, sir, it makes sense.
Yes, it makes sense.
Yes, sir.
What are these D1, D2, D3, D4?
I couldn't hear what you said. There was some background noise.
What are these D1, D2, D3, D4? On the matrix, I see S1, S2, S3, S4.
Oh, okay. Yes, here we said D1, D4 is developed. That means they are already, it's S4. They know what they're doing. D3 is moderate. It's coaching and supporting. The S3 is in relation with D3. S2 is in relation with D. Here we're talking about developing. Development levels of the fellow. D1 is when you just hire them, they are developing. But what you want is to get them from D1 through D2, D3 to D4. And you see how they combine D3 and D2 to moderate. And the reason, can someone tell me why we combine D3 and D2 together? What is it? Why we couldn't just say have a gradual move from D2 to D3, but here they call it moderate. Why did they give you that march rather than be very specific in D1 and D4?
I think that it's in a transition. Transition from 3 to 4.
No, I'm talking about the moderate, D3 and D2. Why here? Here you have low in D1, high in D4. But when it's come to D2 and D3, they combine them into just one called moderate. Can you try to understand why they were not very specific?
I guess it's because the model is a mixture of both high and low.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, from my own point of view, they are interwoven. They're interwoven.
Absolutely. And to just be more specific, what they are trying to say to you is that occasionally someone's going to migrate from S2 to S3, but guess what? They might retrograde back to S2. Because sometimes, you know, you will think that you have mastered it, then you lost confidence, then you go back. You know, it is not that smooth because sometimes you are struggling. What they're saying to you must be patient with your collaborator, knowing that it's not, you cannot say, oh, we already did that in S2. You should know that by now. No, allow the person, you know, to go back. If for whatever reason, they're not comfortable, you know, they have forgetting what they've learned, it's okay. Be patient, you know, just encourage them. Oh, yes, that's all right. It happens all the time. You know, no, that's okay. Because guess what? If for whatever reason, what they've learned into the coaching phase and you started into supporting, then they start forgetting what they've learned and start doubting about themselves. And if you're yelling at them, if you say, oh, you already did that, by now you should have known that other people have cleared that in a less shorter time. You know, you should know that by now. Guess what? You are triggering the negative neuron. You are being dissonant. And what they do, they either flee or they get ready to fight. They're going to feel that you are criticizing them. They feel like you are not respecting them. But just imagine if you say to them when they're struggling, they said, oh, I should have known that. You just show it to me all this time. And then you said, no, not necessarily. You know, we went through a lot of information. That's okay. We'll get there. Take your time. You know, I was worse than you. You know, it took me that, even sometime if you, you know, try to make sure, and as soon as you do that, they start relaxing. You know, you're sending this new positive neuron where the body comes back to peace and to relax. And then they are open, because remember, if you are in the mode to fight or to flee, those neurons hijack your mind and you can no longer learn because you get angry and you don't retain any more information. That's why I just wanted you to understand that it is okay sometime when we go backward. You know, sometimes they said you go back, you know, in order to jump further. You know, reculer pour mieux sauter. You know, sometimes it is okay, you know, to go back. There's nothing wrong with that. Now we're going to talk about, and again, the reason I go through this theory is I want you that next time that you see them in a book or someone talk about it, then you demystify it. You know, you say, oh, that's big deal. We've seen it. You know, I understand it. You know, when somebody talk about, oh, contingency theories, you say, wait a minute. You know, I do understand that Fielder has the contingency model, but also I know that Herschel and Blanchard have developed, you know, the situational approach. Then you said, yeah, I do understand the path goal theory, which is also called a natural contingency model. This was developed by Evans in 1970, but most of the people heard about House in 1971. House is the one that really made it popular. The Pat Gould theory shifted its focus from matching the leader style to providing an enabling working environment for the subordinate and for the follower. Here it's no longer about matching the style. It's how do I create the condition for my collaborator for them to be successful. The Pat Gould theory primary goal was to improve followers' performance and satisfaction by asking them to develop employee capability, address their need, and remove obstacles for achieving goals. This last part is critical. That's what made the Pat Gould theory so significant and so powerful. It is, if we have a vision, if you show the way, how being in front of your collaborator is not because you are the boss, it's because you are the stronger, it's because perhaps you have more experience and expertise, but your job, your role is to identify potholes, obstacles, and try to remove it to make sure that they have a very smooth sailing to achieving the goal. That's why it all starts with having a vision. Now, as you can see, when there's a very close relationship between motivational theory and leadership theory, because who needs motivation? The leader. He needs to motivate people to go beyond their capability. Being a leader is to bring yourself and others to do things that you never thought about being capable of doing, is to go beyond, to realize your widest dream, to make dreams come true. That's the job of a leader. While at the same time, a manager, once you get to the point where you have built something, a manager's role is to bring stability, try to maintain, because you don't bring something very powerful and say, okay, I'm going to disrupt it and start something new. Now, you need to make sure that you take advantage of that while you are also engaging in innovating and other things. But again, it does incorporate expenditure theory, meaning that follower trust, and motivation would increase. They believe in their ability to do the work, and their effort will be rewarded accordingly. Now, if you're asking someone to do something they feel they're not capable of, how are they going to be motivated? They're not going to. If we made this class so complicated and send you a ton of reading, if I have said go to the Nothouse book, about 400 pages, and give you several assignments per day, and say that you have to turn it in quickly, you just feel that I'm setting you up to fail. But once I'm hoping that by not asking you to go through this book, by sending you articles that are not very theory driven, that are very practical, I'm hoping that will give you a better chance to master this concept and to start applying it to yourself. Can somebody let me know if I made a wrong judgment, or is it the case? Wow, I'm worried. Did you understand my question?
What did you say, sir?
No, sir. Yes, it makes sense.
Makes sense? No, I said that the Pat Gould theory incorporates the expenditure theory assumption, which means that if the followers don't trust that they have the capability and the ability to do the work, and that their effort will be rewarded, they're not going to be motivated to do the work. That if I have given you too many assignments, sending you too much literature, and making it very complicated, you will not be motivated to be participate, to be contributing, even to join the class. I was just saying that I hope that it is the case. But to come back to our Pat Gould theory, it's been portrayed as being very practical. It's a very straightforward leadership model with very few weaknesses. And here you can see what it looks like. Can everybody see that?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Your followers are here. There's a path.
Yeah. Yes.
And there's always some challenges and your trajectory and your way. And your role as a leader is to work with your followers in order for you guys to solve it together. Not just for you to come and do it for them. Work with them, coach them, support them. You see, and as I'm saying, through this phase, people might go back and forth. They might get all the way to the end and then regress. It is okay. It is just strengthening. It is a loop. That's what we call the learning loop. It's a loop. And because it's a loop, sometimes like when you want to jump far, you can go back and forth until you have, you know, the what you call it, the speed, you know, to jump further. Then you go back to your path and how you attain your goal. Path goal leadership defines goals, clarifies the path, remove obstacles, and provide support. And what I want to bring to your attention, all these concepts are interrelated, are interconnected. All knowledge, leadership is just a combination of all the other things that you've done in the past. You utilize everything that you've learned, that you know, and that you practice and you experience. You know, that's what makes you being effective. You know, don't look at leadership in silos. You know, all this model, that's why in my book, what I'm proposing is a unified framework for effective leadership, where it's no longer saying that such a model is superior to the other, but to say that they all play a part. Now, I wanted to make sure we have plenty of time to discuss it. Next week, we're going to go through the contemporary theory, but today we have completed, because I wanted to make sure that we complete this today, because you already have the reading. And I want you to tell me to reflect on when you read the introduction about leadership, okay, I can see in South Africa, perfect sense of judgment, sir. So I can see, all right. All right, we have almost another half an hour where you can ask all the questions you need and we can discuss. When you read the overview, first of all, tell me what you think about the 2 chapters that you read about the book. What do you find it? Is it something that you think that you will want to read, or is it just the same old? Just some feedback on the book, those 2 chapters that you read. Any feedback on the 2 chapters that you read? Or tell me what your takeaway from the introduction and from chapter 1, the overview. I don't like to call on people. If you don't have volunteer, I'm going to be forced to call on people. I don't like to doing that.
Yeah, Doctor.
Yes. Bada Lola.
From the yes, I was able to scan through, and what I was able to pick, it makes my kind of leadership real. I was able to pick some guidelines concerning leadership, because I have some set of people that I'm coaching also as well. So I was able to, there is this enlightenment to see where I'm getting right, where I'm getting wrong, and I think it's making more sense and making things real to me.
Okay. Okay, you yourself is coaching.
Yes, I have some people that I'm working on.
Okay. Okay. No, I think that I will be very happy to learn from your coaching method and style, because, as you know, that I have a learning stand. I'm still learning, and that's don't feel free to share. If you have some suggestion. But remember, as I said, this is just a tool. It is based on my research. Doesn't mean that I have the answer. You know, we all have, I'm sure that your coaching approach has part of the answer. You know, what I'm saying has part of the answer. But all of us together, working together, I think that is what will strengthen and learning from each other. But thank you for your feedback. Any other feedback? Any question? Now let's go back to question. Do you have any question for this session?
Yes, Prof, I have a question.
Yes, go ahead, Getachew. How do you say your name?
This is Getachew, yes. You're right.
Getachew, okay.
Yeah, it's out of the subject now, the context I mean. Because from our previous experience, we notifications are sent through our email. Nowadays, we didn't receive any email, but when we are asking to work on assignments, it says.
I missed your question. You're talking about the assignment? What specifically about the assignment?
Miss it. So how do you help us? Notification. Because we opened the notification part. As soon as we open the notification part, we can get the question. We'll work the question, and then we'll submit through Google Classroom.
Okay.
Without receiving the notification, I was asking, and told me that to open the Google Classroom. When I open it, I saw that it's missing, as if I missed it.
Oh, okay. I think you need to, for anyone that have, because Professor Kalu, this is my first time teaching this class, and
I can jump in.
Okay.
So
okay.
if you are late in turning in your work, it's gonna say missing. So that's why the first assignment was for you to review the syllabus and make note of the deadlines. So make sure you turn in all your work on time, because if you don't do that, it's going to close.
Yeah. I understand that. If you remember, we will discuss about it.
Yes, and my other advice is, if you notice, we have arranged the mark such that it's backloaded. So some of the points that you are earning now are very low. So if you miss on a point, it wouldn't hurt you in terms of passing the course. You will still be able to pass the course, because the final exam is 70%. That was done by design. So because we know some of you are very busy, if by chance you miss out on some assignments, those are just 2 points. But of course, we want you and we encourage you to do them. And we try to post them ahead of time so you can work ahead of time. So for example, the stuff for week 2 is due Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You can go ahead and do them now if you like.
Okay.
And then, let's say, for example, you start working on your assignment on Friday. If I were you, if you notice you might be late for Friday, go ahead and get Saturday and Sunday in. That way you lose out on Friday, but you don't lose out on Saturday and Sunday. So you have to be strategic in how you do it. But we are also going to be helping you to make sure we post stuff early and you can work ahead of time.
Yeah, I understand that. I miss it because I wasn't in the position to know whether waiting for the notification or just go directly to the Google Classroom. I didn't know this. That's why I missed the assignment.
Okay.
Now, after you told me, if you remember, I work out the remaining question. And then I submitted. Submitted. But what do you help me for the missing question?
Yeah, so if it's missing, just leave it as that and continue on your next ones, on your next assignments. That is something perhaps the instructor will deal with at the end of the semester or the term. But if it's missing, it's missing. I mean, we have to have some standards and some boundaries at the same time, right? Because everyone has reasons for missing the assignment. But in your case, if you are saying you didn't know how to use the platform or something like that, maybe we can talk about that outside of this classroom. We can talk about how to upload your stuff if that's the issue. Very much. Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Clarice, you have your hand raised. Go ahead, Clarice. Clarice, did you raise your hand? Abdul Jabbar, if you are not speaking, can you please mute?
Sir, can I speak?
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
Sir, I have missed one assignment because before it was the time, the AM, morning AM. Now, no, before it was the time, it was considered the PM time, PM. But now it is considered as AM, so that the time is mismatching here. So is there any possibility to change to PM?
No, we cannot do that. The reason is because we set the time on Central Time, US Central Time, right? So it's US Central Time, actually it's 11 a.m. US Central Time. And that could be AM in some parts of the world, that could be PM. So if we change it now to PM, it will flip. It will still become PM somewhere else and AM somewhere else. So, we have about 25 countries at Osiri University right now. Then there's no way we can adjust the time to suit everybody. And so what we advise you to do is when you check the time on Google Classroom, see what it is in your own time. Check it. Okay, what is in your own time? So let's say, for example, it's PM. Like it may even be 2 a.m. your time. Well, it doesn't mean you have to wait until then to do your work. You could do it 8 hours before, 10 hours before, the day before, right? So what we will do is, like I said earlier, we'll post the work ahead of time. For example, week 2 is due Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Now, you don't have to wait till Friday then to start uploading your work and you start worrying, is it going to be late? And so now it's due Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Go ahead and do it maybe Wednesday or Thursday, right? But we cannot change the time to please everybody just because we have different time zones. I hope that is understandable.
Okay, sir, I could understand. Okay, thank you. I'll follow. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jabbar. Okay. Abdul.
All right.
Fine, sir. Thank you.
Now we have why we don't see leadership merit in Africa in most cases, or what are the challenges? Taye, question is, I want to know why we don't see leadership merit in Africa in most cases. If I understand your question properly, are you trying to say that we don't have the right people in the position of leadership? That people that get there do not deserve to be there, or the people that through the leaders, that the most of the leaders don't get to that position? Is it the nature of your question? If I can try to answer it. Because
why we do not have successful leaders?
Okay. All right. Now, we're talking about Africa, and keep in mind what happened in the continent. And now when we're talking about Africa, I always remind, it's not because I'm nostalgic, but we got to look at Africa, from the ancient African, that goes back, just a recent study have shown that one of the first humans were in Sudan about 1 million years ago, before even the Homo sapiens. Therefore, we've been around for a long time. Then you can just look at the most recent one, about 5,000 years, about which Egypt, which was black. We led the world. Then, you talked about the Mali Empire. And when they talk about democracy, I think that, we have to put things into perspective. We do not want to let other people to tell us about our history. When they use textbook, of course, they have to limit our history and who we are in the next 200 years to justify, or maybe 400 years, about what they did. They came here to colonize us because we were not civilized. They were doing us a favor. Our history doesn't start there. Now then, after they left with all the challenges after the Two World War, when Black people saw that, wait a minute, these people that we went to war, we were there when they were hiding, we were taking care of business. Why should I allow them to lead? That contributed a lot. Then you already have also other movement that belong to decolonization, quote unquote. All those factors contributed. But when they left, they made sure that they put a system in place. They have the means, they have the resources, and they use something that was very powerful that still today, we don't pay attention to that. They use education. In many places, they have the schools of the elite. They took all the children of the kings and queens, the most excellent people, and took them to Western school to make sure they did a mindset, and after they defeated them, and prepare them to come and rule. But they're the one that trained them, taught them, and helped them to continue their work. Now, after the colonization, who are the people that led the continent? In Senegal, you have Leopold Sédar Senghor, grammarian, nothing against, but Caucasian lady because he wanted to be part of their system, Houphouët-Boigny. Most of the people that were in place were put in place not by the people, but by the former colonizer. Every time you have someone like Patrice Lumumba, what happened? You have someone like Sankara, what happened? Now, you know that those were great leaders. Those has a lot of merit. But the system that was in place, take the case of Sékou Touré of Guinea. When he wanted his independence in 1958, not to wait in 1960, they punished him, flooded his currency, made sure that he fails. Now, you guys said that we should have worked together. We should have unified. Senegal and Mali tried it, but it did not last. I think, the reason is that our history, and because of the colonizer, that the people that were willing to develop Africa for the African and by the African, most of them were eliminated, and the others, but they maybe didn't have the resources. And that same system has created an elite group, and that elite has been controlling election. They have been basically putting the people that the West want. Now, I think that we have very unique opportunity. What happened in Mali, what happened in Guinea, in Burkina, in Niger. Now we have this peaceful revolution in Senegal. I think that can be a game changer. I think these people that just won this election for the first round, beating the government candidate, is history. It's something that hopefully will take it to right. But you're right. In many African countries, we have the wrong people, leading the country. We have dictator. But I think the people now are starting to rise up. But it's all go through election until we educate people. I think people to know how to elect their leader. We're going to be facing these challenges. Let's see. I don't know if I answer your question. Now, the challenges is, as I said, we are fighting against a system. It's not just the, Western, but there's a lot of multinational that have their interests, and that we have to work towards this entity, the regional organization. And then we can talk about continental organization. The Europeans realized that even though they were stronger than us, they realized they need to be united to survive. America is a union. If you want to be strong, I think that we need to unite, around this, whatever Africa 2063 agenda. We'll see what happens. Any Professor Oziri, do you have any comment to add to her question about why we are struggling?
No comment. I think you answered it well. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Looking at this most African, what can be the major reason for the observed differences? Now, leadership is about, as I said, getting people, it's about influencing people, to voluntarily participate into trying to achieve common purpose for greater good. We as people are very different. We tend to be, and that should have been a strength, not a weakness. Our culture is very rich, and traditionally we have worked together. The Ubuntu concept that is being promoted here is our humanity. Those kind of things should be a strength. But remember, the colonizer needed to destroy that before they can take over. Knowing that they saw that as an important element that needed to be destroyed, therefore we should rebuild it. Mao Zedong said that always try to defend what your enemy are trying to destroy. That Ubuntu spirit that we had kept us together, is something that they want to take away. Now let's try to rebuild it. That probably understand the differences. But the other thing is that the Western world, their level of development today, make it much easier for people to know how to elect. Most of our country, people do not look at the candidate program. Even the recent election, most of the people have voted for the President Bassirou Diomaye Faye and Ousmane Sonko is the new prime minister. If you ask them, can you tell me what is PASTEF, what is their program? They're not going to be able to tell you. However, they're going to say, you know what, I trust them. Because these people were in the administration for 15 years and they were not corrupted. They didn't steal from us. I trust them. They are authentic. They are ethical. We trust them. And we know that they believe that they have good intention. It is this vision they were able to sell to the people. That's what used to differentiate us with many, many Western countries, where when people vote, they know exactly why they're voting for this party. And they also have this maturity, where usually you have two major political parties. You go in the US, you have the Republican, you have the Democrat. We all know in large what they stand for, and people try to align along that. But again, this is something we need to work on to make sure that people know how to elect the right leaders that would be beneficial to them. But that, again, is go through education, sensibilization. We all have to play our part.
I'd like to make a comment, if that's okay.
Yes, absolutely.
I have to say that I'm pleased that some of the students who are here are asking questions, very poignant questions about Africa, because they want to see change, positive change in Africa. One of the things that we pride ourselves at OSIRI is we really want to hopefully inspire you and help you to go back into your communities and become change agents. In fact, before we even became a degree granting university, we used to provide awards, even monetary awards, to people in different parts of Africa for them to start businesses and for them to change their communities. But I also made a comment earlier that there are over 25 countries right now at OSIRI University. And while we have a lot of African students or students from Africa, I really want to encourage those who are on the platform, who are not Africans, to also speak up and share perspectives from their own countries.
Yes.
Because that is really how we can learn from each other. And that is how you yourself can test the models from your own countries, while at the same time, those from other countries can learn from your country. So if you are not from a particular country that is not very represented, we really and strongly advise you and suggest to you to speak up. and chime in, bring ideas, ask questions that even about your own context, because we want to benefit from you as well. Thank you.
Hey, great contribution, Professor Kalu. And I think that we cannot emphasize more about for those that are not looking of Africa to really speak up. And that's why I always give enough time, because it is through the question and answer that we learn from each other. And I think that this is a sharing of expertise and experiences. That's all it is. I am here as your facilitator. I'm not here like teaching you anything. We're just sharing. And I think that I go back to Komate, and we understand about some of the challenges about the system that closed down. But he said, please be more patient and considerate. Now, I thought that we were being considerate, but it's always a feedback. We're going to try to do a better job of being considerate. But let me tell you this. We're not here to penalize anyone. If we give the final exam 70% of your grade, and all this assignment, all of them will only count 30%. Even if you miss an assignment, and I think that I'm going to work. I'm not saying that because I want to encourage people not to do their assignment. All I'm saying that if you have a just cause for not submitting, for whatever the reason, we'll always find a way to accommodate that and to make the correction. We do not want the grade to become an issue. We are here to learn. We are here to exchange. The grade is just a way to do evaluation. It is part of the process. But what we want is for you to focus on enjoying the material and learning from the material and contributing to from your own expertise and your own experience. But again, we're not here to penalize you. If you have missed an assignment, talk to Professor Kalu. I think that he will always find a way to work around those things. But we're not here to take point away from you. To the contrary, we want to make sure that everybody get 100%. But you got to earn it. It is part of being a leader. Because you're the one that said that you're doing leadership. We talked about earlier. It's not just about responsibility. It is about accountability. It is people go beyond just say, hey, did I do my part? Did I do everything I was supposed to do? And then to come clean. And I think that if you all have that mindset, we should be doing well. I think that Ambrose Itenebe, I think that Professor Kalu probably answers part of about the system in Africa, the corruption. We saw that, as I said, you guys are change agent. That's why I believe you are here. You want to take your country, your area, your community, to a place where really, these people that have no merit, these crooked people don't even have access. Many crooked, politicians have been retired with this new election. And I think it is a way to change things. And I hope that what happened in Senegal, what happened again in Burkina, in Mali, in Guinea, in Niger, that can tell us that we can take our destiny in our own hand. The military success that are happening in Mali against terrorism is actually much, much greater than what happened under MINUSCA and the French. Therefore, we need to, to make sure that we are all change agents. And that's what this thing is all about. What you learn from here. And the other thing is that you need to help each other. You need to have groups from people from different countries to share experience, to create community. And I think that's what this Oziri University platform is trying to be, a place where we can talk about things, where you can make friends, where people can help each other out, where you can have projects together, that are regional project, continental project. That's what this thing, that's what it's going to take for all of us to play our part.
Well, I think I see Clarice Gowo Clarice, Clarice, your hand is up. Do you want to say something?
Yes, thank you. How are you, Doctor?
Hi,
Great,
well.
Clarice. Thank you.
Hi, Professor Osiri. Greetings.
Greetings to you too.
And my colleagues, thank you. I'm really enjoying the class and following, though I joined a bit late and I'm in and out because of some poor network here in Zimbabwe. I'm in Harare. And just this last week, from Tuesday till Friday, I had a group. I work with the Catholic schools. So I took some priests and the school head teachers and administrators for our strategic planning. And what we have learned so far and what we are learning, it's really making sense and a lot of positive contribution to me as a leader. And what Doctor just taught us when I entered class, that we need to undo some old thoughts and bring in some new, to allow new knowledge. You know, during the weekend, I tried to convince the people I took for this strategic planning because we were not operating from the same level, that if someone puts across their idea, they wanted to be taken, until I'm saying, no. When we are working as a group, we have to put away our egos, because institutions will not be run on selfish motives. So thank you very much. These classes are quite relevant and encouraging to us as leaders. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Clarice. And really, that's what leadership is all about. You know, understanding, bringing people together. Strategic plan is a very important tool. As we said it earlier, a leader starts with a vision. And the vision is something that not your vision of the group, but it should be a common purpose. Also should be for greater good. And the one thing that I like is the title about this class that's very relevant. It's about sustainable leadership. How can we sustain? When you talk about sustainability, is how do we do things in a way not to jeopardize for future generation, not to deplete all the resources. And I think that having a strategic plan is critical for not only setting the direction, but clarifying some of the goal and the objective. But in that, you know, you want to make sure that everybody can appropriate it. And the way you do that is by having this discussion. But at the same time, we have to know that we need to always find consensus. Is that, you know, you don't come and say that this is my way or the highway. And it is the leader responsibility to make sure that everybody's engaged, that we have very open and discussion, and that everybody get their idea across. By the end of the day, you know, we need to make sure that, you know, we have a roadmap. And I think that a strategic plan is one of the tools that is missing in a lot of organization. But not only, if you look at the strategic plan, once you have your vision, you know, your ambition, you have your goals, and you have your objective. Now, the objectives, as I say, are supposed to be smart, specific, you know, measurable, you know, realistic, you know, achievable, and there's a time bound on that. But then you have to develop your activities to achieve those objectives. And that's where strategy makes sense. Strategy said that it is the decision to select a set of activities rather than another one. But again, you need to just say what is the rationale behind it. And that's through that discussion that you can bring everybody together. But the one thing that we always need to have in a strategic plan is performance indicator. What success look like? And once you have that, then implementation become much easier. But again, thank you so much for your comment and for the role that you're playing in that group.
Thank you. And my last question to Professor Osiri, because of the time differences, each time I want to submit my work, because if we say the work is due, like today, 8 April, and 8 April, according to me, ends on 11:59 p.m. my time here. But if I want to submit that time, it's saying something like missing, assignment missing. Of course, I end up submitting, but there will be that headline of missing, like I am late to submit.
Yes. So, like I mentioned earlier, we have about 25 countries represented here. When we set the due date in U.S. Central Time, that will reflect in your different countries based on your time zone. So it may be morning for some people, it may be midnight for others, it may be evening. Yes. So we have different time zones. Now, we cannot obviously set it such that it works for everyone and the time that they want, right? So what you want to do is look at the deadline and try to work ahead instead of trying to submit it like when it's due, knowing that it's going to be late for you or too early for you. Maybe think about doing it 24 hours in advance. That is really what I want to encourage you all to do. So, for example, the deadlines for week 2 is this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. If I was everyone on this platform, don't work based on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. This is also part of being a leader. Be ahead of the game. So you could work based on, say, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, or you could even do all 3 at the same time on Thursday and be done with it, right? So Dr. Meng has provided some really great materials that are interesting, very engaging. You could finish it in one fell swoop and get it done. So that is what's happening there. If you wait until the end, you may end up submitting late. In my place, they say, Emeng vangva, emeherodachi. Emeng vangva, emeherodachi, meaning if you hurry and get things done on time, you end up avoiding mishaps. Because maybe the time you want to submit it at that deadline, the electric power is gone.
Well, true.
Right? So don't plan based on that deadline. This is also trying to train you to become a powerful global player, because you are working now in the global time zone. I've been working on the global time zone for only more than 2 decades now. And you have to be cognizant of other people's timelines and work ahead. So my advice is part of your training, really, and I really mean this, is to learn to say, yes, the deadline is 11 a.m. Central, but on Friday, but I'm going to work on your schedule, put Thursday instead of Friday. And that would help alleviate things, and you will see how smoothly things will go. I know it's easy. You may say it's easy said than done, but I have, trust me, this is based on experience. That's what you want to do. So once again, just work with us on that, and that will be great. I think we have Ambrose, Internet. Go for it.
Yeah, good evening,
Thank
Prof.
you. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, Professor.
Go ahead, Ambrose.
We are in the evening here in Nigeria, so I use good evening. So I was.
You see, it's evening, but it's still morning here in Nebraska. So you see what I'm talking about? Good evening to you. Go ahead, please.
Good evening, Prof. I want to first of all appreciate this course. I think this course is very, very necessary. In fact, it's practical. I have seen it right from day one, because it's really, really rich. You know, I was shocked to discover something which I've not heard before. Talking about emotional intelligence, and then by the time the ratio was given, that for a good leader, he has 80% emotional intelligence and then 10% skill and 10% IQ. I was very, very surprised. That's I still ponder on that statement till today. And I was discussing with some people yesterday, and I told them, and they were also surprised. You know, because I find it quite interesting and enriching, and I want to appreciate the management for putting it in place. And then also I find it that as we go through the course, as I go through the materials, most of the things that we practice in the office, I discover that we have been practicing it, but we've not understood the basis. And the course is an eye-opener. I want to appreciate the course is really enriching. And then I just want to say thank you for this course. The materials are well prepared. Thank you, Doctor. And
you are welcome. You're welcome. I mean, kudos to Dr. Meng, who designed the course and put it together. In fact, I got similar feedback from one of our MBA students who lives in South Africa. She's a professional. She was saying that she's actually practicing because she got really, really busy, and we used to, talk on a regular basis. And since she started going to Osiri University, it's almost like we stopped talking. And I told her, I almost regret encouraging you to go to Osiri University because now we don't talk anymore like we used to discuss and catch up on professional life. And she told me, no, please. This is one of the best things you've done for me. Thank you for encouraging me. And she said this course, this is the same thing, Ambrose. She said this course has really helped her in terms of her leadership and her workplace. It has transformed how she's looking at things. So thanks for that feedback. And I tell folks, even if you don't, we are here to get a degree, fine. But I love the fact that you all are actually seeing the value in the courses themselves, like this course right here, in being able to practice it on a day-to-day basis. That is amazing. That is very refreshing to hear. Let's go to Abdul. I know we are running out of time here, and I think we have a few minutes before we shut down. I would just say maybe after Abdul, we can shut down Dr. Meng. Abdul, go ahead, please.
Okay, sir. Yes. Once again, I want to say this is a fantastic course, and I'm really enjoying because that it's 3 hours lecture and continuously. Even then, it's any hectic schedule. Following here very nicely. I want to ask one question that Osiri sir, that how do you evaluating the participation? Sometimes it is participation getting very low marks. How do you calculating this one?
Yes, very easy, very, very easy. And I'm glad you asked that question because I knew I was going to share that earlier with you. It's simply based on attendance. We want you, for now, the bar is kind of low, it's attendance. So after class, make sure you go to Google Classroom and under announcements, or if you go to week 1, you have your post lecture links. Go there and fill the form for attendance. Go there and also evaluate this particular session. We use that. That's all we use. Make sure you put your name there. Once you put your name there, you get a point for coming. But of course, we want you to just want you to also come and participate like many of you are doing. So that's how we do that. Thank you for asking. Doris, you have a question before we go?
No, not a question. I just wanted to appreciate Osiri University for the quality of resource persons. The professors are fantastic. And then the quality of the materials, absolutely beautiful. I want to say thank you very much for giving us this opportunity.
You are welcome, and I'm glad you said that. On that note, I want to say we actually currently doing a big drive for our May intake. So if you all don't speak up, we cannot get new students. And remember this, when we succeed at Osiri as a university, you succeed. And likewise, when you succeed as a student, we also succeed. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I really will appreciate it. We will appreciate it if you all will go out there. I know many of you here, I know Ambrose, for example, have talked to many of her co-workers who have already signed up. Talk to your friends and your family members. We've reduced the financial barrier. It's almost non-existent, as you all know. So talk to your folks to sign up. We need folks to sign up. And we're trying to measure success for us, just like Dr. Meng has taught us today. And the success for us here is we are looking for 1,000 students. When we have 1,000 students sign up in April, we are successful. And if we are successful, you are successful. I speak Igbo. I speak Igbo. Somebody asked about what I speak. I speak Igbo, and I also speak Fon in Benin Republic. Jabbar, you have another question?
We have Suar also that has a question for you, Dr. Professor Osiri. What you said in your mother's tongue,
Yes, Shakira, go ahead.
All right. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Nice meeting you all. I wanted to ask that the attendance for about 2 classes past now, I've not been able to sign the attendance. Each time I try to click on the link, it's not even coming up at all.
Okay.
So I've not been able to sign attendance.
Shakira.
Even in the last one, I was not able to. Yes.
Shakira,
Yes.
I
Yes,
have to
sir.
stop you there.
Yes.
I have to stop you there and say, come on, Shakira, come on. So you are unable to sign the attendance and you are just sharing that now in this class? Come on. If you try to click on something the first time, second time, third time, it didn't work and you didn't say anything, come on, how can we help you? You've got to say something right away. In fact, we've actually posted the attendance grades for business strategy because that class is done. So we went back and we looked at all the totals and we posted the grade for business strategy. So go ahead and send a WhatsApp message right away, Shakira, and let's deal with that outside of this class, okay? But next time, if you have any issues, don't wait. And that applies to everybody. Do not wait. If you have any issues, immediately send us a message on our WhatsApp message and we'll be very fast and swift to help you out. Thank you, Shakira. Let's go to somebody else.
All right.
Somebody else?
Thank you, sir.
You are welcome. You are welcome.
Yeah, I
Anybody
think
else?
Swirl was asking about what we meant by prompt timing and action and what you said about in your mother's tongue. I think they wanted to know.
Yeah, so mother's tongue is Igbo. I spoke Igbo earlier. I said that she means when you are prompt, when you are ahead of time, right? When you do things on time, you avoid mishaps, right? You avoid accidents and things of that sort. So I always try to be on time whenever anything I do. I try to be on time, and we should try to imbibe on that. Professor Meng is always like, before this class started, Professor Meng called me 30 minutes before this class. And I told him, I said, Professor Meng, I'm actually driving. I can't join the Zoom, the Google Meet right now to test out the platforms. But that is how much of a professional he is. He wants to test out the platform, make sure he's ready. So I told him I can't join until 5 minutes before time. So, and that was what I did. And then he ended up joining a little bit late because I delayed him. But anyway, but the point is, we gotta learn to be on time on things, right? In a due date, coming to class. Again, I understand we can be busy at times, but let's try to work towards that end. And I think it will be a much happier life for us.
Thank you so much. And again, we're going to continue to make sure we don't send you a lot of information. We just send you what you need. And even for those articles we send you, we make sure that it's very practical, because this is what you do every day. Everything that you heard here, you're already doing it. We're not teaching you anything. We're putting maybe a new language, a new terminology, but you are all leaders. And this class is a testimony for what we said earlier, that you understand about leadership. This is just about sharing experience and expertise. That's all it is. We are all learning from each other. And again, thank you so much, Professor Kalu. We co-designed the course. There was a lot of input from him. And this is what I said, that when you have co-teaching, we all benefit from it. This is my first time doing it, and I'm really enjoying it. This is something we should promote, Professor Kalu.
All right. I think that's a good place for us to end. Jabbar, please go ahead and send a text message if you don't mind. And you all have a lovely evening. Professor Meng, back to you. You want to go ahead and close us out?
Yes, just again, say thank you to everybody. And we look forward to seeing you guys next week. And if you have any emergency regarding technical issue, contact Professor Kalu. As you know, I'm still